Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, former Democratic National Committeeman Chris Wicker joins us for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. 40 years ago, Hotel California and the theme from Rocky were #1 on the pop charts, and D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal started on the road to becoming Nevada's leading roofing company.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
And over these 40 years, we've become an employee-owned company. So when you're talking to any employee, you're talking to an owner.
And here's to the next 40 years.
Happy 40th birthday, D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Chris Wicker. He is the former Democratic National Committeeman. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Nice to be back, Sam.
You just got back from England.
Yes, London.
Brexit, what are they saying?
You know, it's kind of like Brexit is almost a done deal. The people that we talked to, it was just a done deal, and it's going to happen, and they're going to have to deal with it. So it's kind of like an air of resignation. Some people you see on the local news there in London, certain groups are very excited about it because they think they've been suffering under European Union, you know, such as the the fishermen and some of the transportation people. Others, as you well know, would certainly have preferred to have stayed in the European Union, but with Boris Johnson's election, that's going to happen, and everybody knows it. So now it's a whole different dynamic than what you read about before. And being there in London, it was almost like it wasn't news anymore.
Jeremy Corbyn, was he the worst choice to be the Democratic leader?
He was awful, and even he almost didn't make it as leader of his party. And they had to have sometime before the recent elections, they had to have a vote. And he marshaled enough people, and it's kind of weird the way they do it there as far as electing leaders of their parties. But I think the uniform opinion, because I asked people about it, because I'm not a particular big fan of Boris Johnson. I'm
shocked.
Yeah. And they just said, you know, Jeremy Corbyn was the worst. Nobody likes him. And so it's hard to fathom how he could lead what used to be one of the two major parties. I'm not sure if it is anymore.
Yes, and it'll be interesting going forward to see how that works out, and also just how the whole Brexit thing will work out. It was hard to imagine Britain joining the European Union when they did back in the day. It's even harder to see them leaving now. Well,
when you walk through the streets of London, you're constantly reminded of the days of the British Empire when the sun never set on it, and they controlled 24% of the world's population, and just this amazing world power, I think, like the world has never seen before or since. The buildings
maybe the exception of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, that's true, going back ways. But the buildings there through the central part of London just remind you of the glory days of the British Empire. And you can kind of see how the British people could think they could maybe go it alone. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Northern Ireland and Scotland, both of whom voted against it and revived the Independence Party in Scotland.
Well, and you know, and I didn't really mean to go on this long about this, but you're bringing up some interesting points here. The Northern Ireland issue is the border. They've got to make it so that, you know, people can travel freely across that border, because otherwise you could see a return of the Troubles.
And I don't understand how the plan is going to work or not work as far as having a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. But if it becomes a hard border, if the European Union kind of enforces a hard border because of all the different trade agreements, it'd be horrible to have the troubled times again, and I think it'd be horrible for Scotland to vote for independence. You know, Boris Johnson says he won't allow such a vote to occur, and the leader of the Scottish Independence Party says that they don't care what Boris Johnson says.
Yeah, the problem for Scotland is that the timing is off, because, you know, back when, you know, the last time this was really seriously being discussed, Scotland had a lot of oil off the coast, and that would financially support them leaving the British Union. But that oil is running out.
It's running out, and it's hard to see how either Northern Ireland or Scotland would be much of a viable independent nation, particularly having been part of the British Union for so long. I hate to see that come, but it might.
And of course, we have to separate that the Southern Ireland era has been an independent country for many years. It's Northern Ireland that is associated with Britain.
Yes.
All right.
It is for now.
For now. Let's take a break. We'll be back more with Chris Wicker after this.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia.
Yeah.
Because of UMC, there's a wide open road ahead of me.
Because of UMC, she can grow up with her twin sister.
Because of UMC, I'm here to help you.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Chris Wicker, the former Democratic National Committeeman. So, in the last week, as we are taping this, we've seen a couple of initiatives from the Teachers Union, the Clark County Education Association, I should point out. One is to raise Nevada's gaming tax. The pushback on that, I think, is going to be amazing.
Well, it's not like the gaming interests don't have a big voice in state government any way you cut it.
On both sides of the aisle.
On both sides of the aisle, because it plays such a significant role, particularly in the Clark County economy. The Clark County Teachers Association has always kind of staked its own turf, so to speak, and and they've kind of taken positions sometimes that are not always supported across the board. And I don't think these are terrific times for the gaming industry, and gaming is just proliferating all over. And ask the Northern Nevada gamers how well the industry is doing. It's you know, kind of a risky move, because I can't remember the percentages, but it's a hefty raise.
It's 2 points basically.
Yeah, 2 points. That's a hefty raise. You look at the margins of the gaming properties, and you know, kind of you look at their margins and then see what a 2% raise would do.
Well, okay, so I think you bring up a couple of different issues here. One is that the gaming part has flattened out to an extent, and you know, part of that we could lay at the feet of the fact that, you know, the slot machine industry has not gotten into the real world until recently, and we may see a boost in that in the future with esports. But the gaming industry has changed from just gaming into all these other entities. I mean, they're as much retailers as they are in gamers. I mean, they make money from the food, they make money from the shows, they make money from the hotel rooms, they make money on parking, they make money on resort fees. There are lots of things that they make money on that aren't strictly associated with gaming. But the other side of the coin, and I will, you know, be nice to them about this, and it's because it's true, is that because of the level of the gaming tax, I believe that that's the reason we're still seeing mega resorts being built in Las Vegas, is because if you own a property in, say, Pennsylvania, you're going to pay a much higher tax if somebody loses $1 million there than you are if you build a mega property like Resorts World in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember the good old days when you go to Las Vegas and it was a cheap hotel, cheap food, no resort fee, no parking fee, and those days are gone. And I think that the gaming aspect of most of those properties is significantly less than half of their revenues.
It's around a little over 30%.
30%, okay. And so, you know, you're right that a gaming tax doesn't affect the entire property. And I have a lot of sympathy with the Clark County Education Association, because no matter, we've had some significant tax increases, and a lot of it has found its way to education, but we still find Nevada near the bottom of the pile in terms of education rankings. And you know, you have to ask, you know, what do we have to do in this state to bring our education levels up to standards of even the mid-level of the rest of the country? Because I think that's important for, it's always been considered important for business development. And so, you know, I don't know what the right percentage is, but I think that an increase in the gaming tax, particularly when you compare our level of taxation to other states and other countries, it seems like it could be absorbed, but you just have to be careful that you don't kill the golden goose.
All right, the last time I think the gaming tax went up, it was what, 1/4%, 0.5%, something like that? I mean, isn't that something more in line with, you know, is that even something that the gaming industry would accept, even a 0.5% or 1/4% increase?
Well, I think, and maybe this is part of the strategy, if you're looking at a 2% increase, a 0.5% sounds a whole lot better to anybody. And maybe that's part of the Clark County Education Association strategy, is to, and it's a common negotiating technique, is to ask for the moon and settle for a rocket, and we'll see what happens. But I hate to use a term that Trump uses, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, but you know, if they go ahead with an initiative and get all the signatures, would they be happy to accept something from the legislature? And would the legislature have the courage to do that, especially with the governor, you know, in his first session? You know, he would need the support of the gamers. I'm sure he had incredible support from the gamers to become governor.
And I think he could reasonably anticipate, unless something very odd were to happen, to have support of the gamers for his re-election. And so I think that's something that you always have to look at, but perhaps almost more importantly is that if you have this go forward by the Clark County Education Association, the amount of advertising up against it might be the biggest obstacle of all, because we have seen in other past instances that you know, if a industry with funds and revenue feels threatened, they're willing to spend millions to fight it and to fight
for
it.
example, see NV Energy and $63 million. So you could be, you know, and gaming could certainly outclass any monies that the teachers union could raise.
Oh, I think so, and so they may. I don't know if it'll work to have, on the one hand, we have this threatened 2% increase, or if because of the advertising onslaught, if the Clark County Education Association would be satisfied if the legislature would do half a point or something like that.
What about the opposition of the Nevada State Education Association, who has said we need an additional $1 billion going towards education, but they're against the proposals of the Clark County Education Association because they've had an ongoing fight for quite a while now?
Well, and this is not the only point of contention over time, but I'm not familiar with what they say the source of revenue should come from.
They have, you know, their response on this program has always been, over the years, many presidents on this program have said, our job is not to figure out how to fund it, our job is to tell you how much we need, and then the legislature needs to figure out how to fund it.
No wonder I don't remember.
Exactly. What about the sales tax increase? And Bob Lucy was saying he believes this is only for Clark County. Is that what your understanding is? Okay, so you know, now you hit 2 million people with an increase in the sales tax, that they've already just had an increase in the sales tax. It's the most regressive form of tax. How does this go down?
That's the wrong way to do it, because you hit on the point that needs to be made over and over again. The sales tax is the most regressive because it hits people that have to spend all their disposable income or all their income, and people that are more well off can save it, defer it, invest in things that don't create a sales tax liability. So that's why it's the most regressive. And at some point in time, you know, this state might have to consider some kind of an income tax. And that is
you have to change the Constitution, and that's not going to happen.
Well, you know, I think
you see that
I think you're right. I think you're right. If you ask the people to amend the Constitution to install a income tax, what are the odds?
Well, I think one can look at the 30% pension increase that legislators gave themselves many years ago, and very few of them ever came back to the legislature because they were thrown out of office, and that was even after they reversed themselves.
Well, and remember the population defeated paying legislators for the daily rate for the full time they spend at the legislature rather than half of what they get now, which was a minuscule part, but I think it was overwhelmingly defeated.
To say the least. Let's take a break. More with Chris Wicker when we come back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Chris Wicker. He's the former Democratic National Committeeman. So we're talking about taxes. Why not let's talk about property taxes? Are we going to see a change in the property tax rate? Local governments are getting killed.
You know, that would be like looking into crystal ball and guessing. It's necessary because property taxes are, I think, a better way to go than sales taxes.
More stable.
Yeah, more stable and more predictable. And the system we have now, where the depreciation on the improvements is taken out of the valuation for taxing reasons, it doesn't make any sense, and it makes it very complicated. And I think it's just it needs to go. And but again, asking any kind of thing that is billed as a tax increase, people with the best of intentions will be hammered by people that oppose any tax increase for any reason whatsoever. And so anything like that is just such a tough battle. But you look at what happened in California when they capped the property tax there and had to turn to other sources, and sometimes no sources at all. And I think their schools have gone downhill, and a lot of their public services have gone downhill. And we need that money. I mean, if you're going to live in a modern society, government has to have money to function. And nobody likes potholes, nobody likes bad schools, people like their parks to be maintained, and that costs money.
But isn't it seems to me over the years that the taxes that have been agreed to by the public have been ones that are specifically put towards a certain goal. So Washoe County 1, for example, was money to go towards the schools, so that was accepted. If it's a general tax increase, people are just concerned, where does the money go? And by the way, that can be another argument against the Clark County Education Association's taxes, which is you can raise all this money from these other sources, and the legislature can go, great, we'll bring in all that money to go towards education, and we'll take out all the money we put towards education and put it towards something else, which they are allowed to do.
And which would not completely shocking were that to happen. And so I don't know, I think it's unfortunate that the word tax has become such a nasty word in modern society, because paying taxes is a responsibility of citizens and legal residents of the country to make sure that your government functions and your public services function. And particularly local entities need some kind of stable form of tax base. You know, the RTC has greatly benefited from the fuel tax, and they've been able to keep up with our roads pretty well with that source of income. Well, local governments need that too.
All right, let's change topics here. The New York Times, as we are taping this, came out yesterday with an endorsement for two people, not one, for president, Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren. Were you surprised that A, they picked two people, and the two people that they picked?
I was surprised. If I would have predicted who they were going to pick, I might have picked Joe Biden, but then again, you read what they said about Joe Biden's candidacy, and you can see why they didn't. But Amy Klobuchar has struggled to gain single percentage points. But if you've ever heard her speak, she makes an amazing candidate, and I think she would be an amazing candidate. She just lacks that all-important name recognition.
Isn't it a little late in the game for her to be gaining like that?
No, I think that you look at some past races at this stage. I think even with John Kerry or even with Jimmy Carter back in the day, I think at this stage in the race, they may not have predicted that those two people would rise to the top. So I think there's still time.
Were you surprised that they totally threw Bernie Sanders under the bus because of the heart attack?
Well, I think that's on a lot of people's minds, and Bernie Sanders has done his best and has actually appeared very energetic and completely unhampered by his heart attack. But I think that is something in everybody's minds, at his age and with his health. His age is not such a big deal as it is having suffered through one heart attack. But I think Elizabeth Warren, at least in my opinion, is a better candidate than Bernie Sanders is, and she has a lot of policy ideals. She has to maybe back off some of her more progressive things, such as her health plan. I think she's had to back down a little bit on that, just because She had to make sure that she could prove to people that it would work. Amy Klobuchar,
which is pretty impossible.
Well, yeah. I mean, but you know, you have to have big ideas and then work towards it. I mean, President Obama understood with Obamacare that you're not going to go to single-payer health care in a single presidential term.
You know, Ron Paul said the same thing on this program when he was running for president, and I talked to him about what appeared to be at the time crazy ideas, and he said, well, you don't get there in one term. It would take multiple presidential terms to get there. We got about 30 seconds left here. Mike Bloomberg, he was able to buy 3 terms, especially the 3rd term in New York City as mayor. Is he able to buy the election in the country?
You know, I think the New York Times made a pretty good point about that, and instead of doing the hard route of campaigning, he's going the route of trying to buy the election. And I think at the end of the day, people won't accept that. I think Mike Bloomberg is a good executive and would be a good president, but people aren't going to accept that he's buying his way there, and he's not going to make it in the Democratic primary.
And that's where we have to leave it. Chris Wicker, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you. Glad you came back from England. We need you here. And we'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
You can now watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Nevada Newsmakers and become a subscriber. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching and listening.